Welcome here to TalkFCB and welcome back to the channel here today, guys, where we have got lots of discussion on a range of different topics coming your way. It's international break. We're just going to chill out a bit today and have a bit of a chat because we're going to be talking about why Barça are picking up so many injuries right now. What is the cause of that, with several different viewpoints discussed. We're also going to be talking about some of our struggles in La Liga, discussion there about our results and also our performances. And I'm also going to be talking in detail about the pivot position, looking to the long term. Who are Barca looking at right now? What is the options that we have in that area, and are we already making some moves towards that? So it's all coming up today, lots to talk about, so let's do it. Because if we do, first of all, begin though with those injuries, because honestly guys, that is the thing right now that we're all looking at, that we're all thinking, when is it going to stop? What is happening? And it happens every year with Barca. Every year around this time, the big games, the important games, and it's injury after injury after injury, and not just to anybody, but to key players. And why is that happening? Why does that continue to happen? Now, some people there are looking again to the training at Barcelona. Is that the problem right now? Maybe a lack of intensity, the way that we train as a team. We've heard it in the past levelled at different coaches at Barca that we weren't doing enough in those sessions, and that was basically inviting these injury problems. But I do doubt there that is the problem right now under Xavi, and as a result of that, many people are saying, well, is it the medical staff? Have we got to have another look here at the people in and around the club, in the medical team? Are they doing enough? Are they the right people in their roles? But let's not forget as well that Xavi overhauled that too. You know, that is something that he addressed as soon as he came into the club there as the head coach. He wanted to overhaul the medical team, and he pretty much did. So we do have new faces in that area. Is that the problem? Now, other people would say, maybe I think we depend too much on certain players. Is it over-reliance on those players that sort of forces them into injury problems? You look at it right now with somebody like Jules Koundé. He's played pretty much every game, every minute of the season so far. Was it almost inevitable that at some point he was going to pick up a problem? You know, would any of us be surprised right now if João Cancelo got injured, if João Felix got injured, given the fact they have been playing every few days? We've been reliant on them because maybe in certain parts of our squad we still don't have the depth that we need. Then there's players for me like Pedri, like Araujo, who personally I'm a bit concerned when it comes to those players. You know, players there who are not just injured now, but have been multiple times there, where the injuries are getting too consistent, too often. You are starting to worry about individual players there in terms of, are they becoming injury prone? Is there something we need to look at there, whether it's nutrition, whether it's different kinds of training sessions, work in the gym? Do we need to look at certain players differently and maybe change parts of their life, their game, in order to make sure they steer clear of injuries? But then we've also got players, you know, and you can't forget this right now, guys, like Frenkie de Jong, like Robert Lewandowski, for example, who've been ruled out injured for several weeks. Now, these guys are never injured. They're never, ever injured. They've gone long spells in their career with a run of games with no problems. So what is happening to them? And I think what we do have to say right now is a lot of what we're seeing, at least right now, it is down to some bad luck. There's no other word to describe that, because you look at the kind of injuries that we're getting, a lot of them are different kinds of sprains. I mean, you look at it right now with Lewandowski, with Frenkie de Jong, those are just injuries there that could honestly happen to anybody. These aren't muscle problems. That's when the real concern starts, when you start seeing widespread muscle problems right throughout the team and muscle injuries. That's not really what we're seeing right now. I mean, you even look at the Koundé injury at the weekend there, it was because Xavi fell on him. That was the only reason that he picked up that injury, because one of our own players fell on him. I mean, this is the kind of luck that we're seeing right now, and of course there is concern. Of course we want to see it come to an end. We want somebody to blame, but I think some of it certainly right now falls upon bad luck for Barca. And what that will hopefully mean is, if we can get through this period, if we can get players back, maybe at some point in this season, our luck might change. We might be able to avoid injuries and hopefully keep our squad fit and ready. However, what is actually interesting right now for me, guys, especially when you're talking there about the injury problems that we've had, one of my big problems as well with that is, I think sometimes with the injuries that we have, we do use that as an excuse. We do hide behind the injuries that we have sometimes, and we're saying, oh, well, when we get our full squad back, you know, when Xavi's got all the players that he needs, well, suddenly then everything will be magically cured again. And honestly, guys, what we also have to say is there's lots of teams out there, especially at the top level right now, that have injury problems. We are not the only team that get, you know, injuries. Other teams out there are missing missing key players at any given time. The key is that we can still have some constant about the team. We can still find a way to put in good performances. And when you're looking at the league table, guys, I don't think it lies. I thought last season, for instance, when we finished top of the league, quite clearly, we were the best team. Nobody could argue against that. Over the course of a season, if you finish at the top, it's consistency. You deserve where you finish in the league. And I think when you're looking at it right now, honestly, we do not deserve to be top. I really, really don't. I think Real Madrid have been more consistent. They have been better than us so far this season. Even somebody like Girona there, they've managed to get more points on the board. And a lot of people are saying, well, Barca, they're still unbeaten this season. They've still got a great unbeaten record to start the season. But honestly, guys, do we even care about that? You know, I would rather win more games, accumulate more points and have good performances than just have an unbeaten streak, which honestly doesn't really mean anything in the grand scheme of things. Like I say, if Atletico Madrid win their game in hand, they will leapfrog us and Barca will be fourth in the league. What I would just say, though, about this right now, and I've said this a few times this season about when it's early on in the campaign, would you accept this sort of start, a stuttering start to the league season, anything but convincing, but think about the Champions League. We have managed somehow to get 6 points on the board. We know the game against Porto, it was a lucky one. It was a close one, but we won it. And what I'm saying is here, would you take this start in the league if it means that we can finally get out of our group? I know that we wouldn't really like to choose one or the other. Ideally, we'd like both. We'd like to be top of the league. We'd like to be top of our Champions League group. But I'm saying hypothetically here, if we can get through the Champions League group, make sure that we stay in the race in the league. I'm always thinking here that when we come to next year, when we come to February, for example, when these knockout games start in the Champions League, then things can look different. We could be looking at a different team. This is a marathon and not a sprint this season. I know so far this season we've not been convincing. The performances, there's big question marks about what we're seeing, but if we can hang in there, if we can find a way to stay in the league title race, to stay top of our Champions League group in control and find a way into next year, we have a chance of turning things around, of really getting those players back, finding our best level, and hopefully then we will see the Barça that we've seen flashes of, and only flashes of, so far this season. And speaking indeed about the best Barça, and speaking about the team and the performances that we want to be seeing, I think it's really important that we keep in the back of our mind right now the pivot position at this club. Because you look at somebody there, for instance, like Oriol Romeu, brought in, of course, in the summer, and I think everybody knew, including Romeu himself, it wasn't for the long term. He wasn't brought in there as the long-term successor to Sergio Busquets. It was simply a case of in the summer, we got what we could. We got a stopgap option, really, because we wasn't able to sign the big targets that we had. And obviously now the question is going to come around. Not in January. Apparently there we're going to trust in Romeu for the rest of the season at least. He's going to be in and around the squad. He certainly is. And next summer then, though, that's when we're going to start to get serious. That is when, again, we're going to go out. We're going to look for a long-term Busquets successor to come in and play as a pivot in this Barcelona team. Now, the players that we're looking at right now, and somebody I think, again, we have to keep in our mind, Joshua Kimmich. He is somebody right now who has still not renewed with Bayern Munich. Now, what that means is his contract expires in 2025, which might sound as though, well, that's not really that close to expiring, but if we get to next summer and he still hasn't renewed at Bayern, he would be entering the final year of his contract. It may become a situation there where Kimmich is actually going to be sold by Bayern. It will be their last chance, maybe, to raise funds, to be able to get something for him. Otherwise, he could walk away for free in 2025. And I think this is even more interesting right now, because so far at Bayern during the season there, under Thomas Tuchel, they're not really seeing eye to eye. In terms of their Kimmich in that pivot role, Tuchel doesn't really seem to trust him, doesn't really seem to rate him as highly as maybe as others do. And for that reason, there is a little bit of conflict right now with Kimmich at Bayern. And I just wonder, certainly, heading into next summer, he is still on Barca's radar. Make no mistake of that. We heard a few rumours this morning about Kimmich and Barca, about the fact that we're still tracking him, we're still aware of what's going on. Xavi is a massive fan, and we know, of course, that Xavi was Kimmich's idol, growing up there as a footballer, and even now in the present day, and it's certainly something I would definitely keep in mind when it comes to the pivot area. But there's also another direction too, because are we going to go out there in that pivot and sign somebody who's in their prime? Kimmich is 28 years old. Are we going to sign somebody that can come in, hit the ground running immediately? Or is it going to be another young player? Are we going to go down the route there as somebody like Arthur Vermeeren? We've seen him at Antwerp, very, very highly rated, because played against him in the Champions League, 18 years old. We know that Barça have scouted him. We're hearing those rumours each day, certainly, about him. And there's also somebody from Brazil we've spoken a lot about, Gabriel Moscardo, the Corinthians midfielder there, also 18 years old, and another player that Barça have heavily scouted. Deco, really, really important on that one as well. So what sort of player are we going to target potentially next summer? And my question right here today, guys, to you is, how much of a priority is that pivot position going to be? Because I think back in the summer, we wanted somebody. Xavi certainly would have loved to have gotten a big signing there in that pivot area over the line. We couldn't do it. We couldn't get the players we wanted. Will we go back in the summer? Will that be the big signing, maybe, of the summer of 2024? And should it be? Do let me know in the comments down below, and also who you would like to see in that area if you want to go out and sign somebody big. And also do let me know, guys, your take on the injury situation at Barca. What do you think is causing the problems right now? What are some of those concerns? And also about our start in La Liga and the Champions League. Just some discussion to keep us ticking over here, because we do want to see more from Barca. We do expect more, and I do believe as the season goes on, we will see more. But only time is going to tell us. I will see you guys soon with lots more content on the way, of course. Thank you indeed for joining me and for getting involved. But until next time, as always, Visca, El Barça.